his clothes never fit properly. Under his raincoat, he wore a brown tweed sports jacket that was frayed at the elbows and wrinkled tan slacks. Anthony had started buttoning the jacket to conceal an emerging beer gut. The blue knit tie his son had bought him for his 40th birthday was at half-mast. "Just who are you, sir?" Anthony asked.
"James Allen, Mr. Hoyt's houseman."
"Okay, what happened here, Mr. Allen?"
"I live over the garage. It's across from the master bedroom. There was a shot. At first I thought it was thunder. Then there were more shots. I ran next door and saw a man on the floor near the bed. There was a lot of blood. And Miss Crease, she was sitting on the bed holding Mr. Hoyt. I think he's dead, but I can't say for sure. She wouldn't let me near him. She's got a gun."
"Take us upstairs, will you, Mr. Allen?" Anthony said. The detectives followed the houseman up the winding stairs with barely a glance at the oil paintings and tapestries that hung over the staircase. Dennis had his gun out, but felt a little foolish. It sounded as if the danger was over. Allen led them to a room at the end of a dimly lit carpeted hall. The door to the room was open. "Please tell Senator Crease that we're with the police," Anthony instructed Allen. The detective knew Crease well enough to call her Ellen, but he had no idea what frame of mind she was in. He wasn't taking any chances if she had a gun.
"Miss Crease, this is James Allen. I have 2 police officers with me. They want to come into the bedroom."
Allen started in, but Anthony put a restraining hand on his arm. "I think it will be better if you wait downstairs for the ambulance and the other officers." Allen hesitated, then said, "Very well," and backed down the corridor. "I'm Lou Anthony, Senator. You know me, I'm a detective with the Portland Police. My partner and I are coming into the room." Anthony took a deep breath and stepped through the doorway. The bedroom lights were off, but the light from the hall bathed the large room in a pale yellow glow. A man sprawled on the floor roughly halfway between the door and the west wall. The dead man's legs were bent at the knee, as if he had crumpled to the floor. His feet were almost touching a French provincial armoire that stood against the south wall across from a king-size bed. The doors of the armoire were partly open, and Anthony could see a television. The man's head was near the foot of the bed, surrounded by a halo of blood. Near one of his hands lay a .45 caliber handgun. Anthony pulled his attention away from the dead man and stared at the tableau directly in front of him. Seated on the side of the bed farthest from the door, as if posing for one of Caravaggio's dark oils, was Ellen Crease. She was facing away from Anthony, and the back of her plain white nightgown was spattered with blood. Lamar Hoyt's naked body lay sideways across the bed. Crease's back shielded part of his upper body from Anthony, but he could make out 2 entry wounds and rivulets of blood running through the thick gray hair that covered Hoyt's bear-like torso. Hoyt's large head rested in his wife's lap, and Crease was rocking slightly, making little mewing sounds. Anthony noticed that her right hand was resting on her husband's massive chest, and that her left hand held a .38 special. "Senator," Anthony said gently, "I'm going to walk around the bed." Crease continued to rock and sob. The detective edged past the armoire, then stepped over the dead man's faded jeans and took in his navy blue windbreaker. The dead man's hair was wet from the rain and saturated with blood. His clothing was waterlogged. Anthony looked away and focused on Crease. She was holding the gun, but lightly, and she was staring at her husband. What was left of Hoyt's face was covered with blood that was soaking through the white nightgown. As Anthony arrived at her side, Crease looked up. Her face was tear-stained and torn by grief. 45 minutes later, police cars, an ambulance, and the van from the medical examiner's office choked the driveway in front of the Hoyt mansion. While forensic experts worked the crime scene, Lou Anthony waited patiently for Ellen Crease in one of the deep red leather armchairs in the library. The room was unusually clean, and he sensed that neither Hoyt nor Crease entered it much. Anthony had examined some of the hand-tooled, leather-bound volumes stacked tightly in the floor-to-ceiling cherrywood bookshelves. His brief inspection had uncovered no book with a spine that had been cracked. The detective was holding a volume of Hemingway's short